as promised, we will talk politics, and we will do it with our friend Dr. Craig Albert, political scientist at Augusta University. And Dr. Albert, thank you for being back so soon.
Of course, my pleasure.
We didn't really have any idea that a month ago when we had you on the show that things would change as much as they had, at least on the news front, like they have. But a lot has been going on in the last month for Clinton and for Trump. Does any of it surprise you? Did you think it was just going to be kind of a quiet October?
No, I always suspected we would have an October surprise, especially with the way this election cycle has turned out. You could predict that this was going to happen. We weren't going to be sure what was going to happen, but with the email scandal increasing and intensifying, I guess that's something we could have predicted a little bit better, that WikiLeaks would release more emails, and they did. And the Trump scandal, there's just absolutely no way to predict that. I mean, I guess some people have been a little wary of his attitude and indiscretions in the past, so perhaps some people close to him might have known that something like that could have been released, but not to the extent that it was.
Do you get the sense that this email thing, and that is the slow, steady leak of emails, could hurt Hillary Clinton, could be an election day game changer, or is the media making it bigger than it is?
Oh, I think the media is giving its due attention. Often we hear people blaming the media for blowing up some of these stories. I think this is an appropriate story to pay attention to, much as the Trump scandal is appropriate to pay attention to. I think it's going to get more troubling for the Clinton campaign. I think that WikiLeaks has hinted, and people close to them have hinted, that they have the 33,000 deleted emails that everybody's been asking for. You know, what are in these emails? Why are they deleted? Why would you delete something after you've been subpoenaed to provide that? And we might get it, and I think we'll either get it Friday or Monday.
Okay, so this broadcast is going to air on Sunday and Monday, so you'll know if the Friday potential prediction came true. If it's Monday, isn't Friday or Monday, though, too late, Dr. Albert?
I don't think so, for two groups that we're paying close attention to. So for about 3 months now, we've had a 1 in 5 ratio of people, registered Republicans, that say they're not sure if they're coming out to vote for Donald Trump. They're not sure if they're coming out to vote at all. So that's 20% potentially of registered Republicans who say they're not going to show up because they just don't know what to do this election cycle. That's terrible. Republicans have traditionally had lower rates of getting out the votes than have Democrats. So if you take that 20% out on already top of them having lower turnout rates, that gives it over to Clinton. What this email scandal does are those people that are a little hesitant to vote for Trump are going to say, this is terrible. I can't vote for somebody who deleted all these emails, and whatever's in it, it's bound to be some type of controversy, something, you know, that has the hint of immorality or something undistinguished for a politician to have. Why would she delete them otherwise? So even if it's just little, that's what people are suspecting. That little bit might just be enough to say, I can't sit home. I have to support the Republicans as a vote against Clinton. Not that they're going to support Trump, but as a vote against Clinton. And I think if it happens the day before, that's the best scenario for Trump, because it's going to be fresh in people's minds.
Right.
It's going to be the last thing anybody hears before they go to the polls.
Can her side, or people who support her side, do anything to bump her from the negative headlines at this point?
I don't think so. I think international relations could help her out. Something great or catastrophic for the Battle of Mosul in Iraq could happen. She, of course, could help claim credit from the Obama administration that she had some part in all of this. She, of course, rides the tide of killing Osama bin Laden quite well. And so this can kind of reify her international relations credentials. And the relationship with Russia, something in Syria. So anything on the international stage could help her. She's actually quite hawkish for a Democratic candidate. And so for those independents, or even some conservatives that don't want to support Trump, that could actually help turn them towards Clinton because of how aggressive she is in foreign policy.
But she would need to do it quickly.
Absolutely. And the Clinton machine is one of the greatest political machines we have ever known in the modern era. So anything that's likely to happen from WikiLeaks or the Trump campaign, you can count that the Clintons have a response already created.
Well, that really leads into my next question. Is that machine, since it's so good and it's so it's omnipresent, every state, every precinct just about has a Clinton presence in it, can that machine undo a lot of this negativity? In other words, we're so blown away by the headlines that maybe we aren't digging deeply enough to say, okay, but after the smoke clears, she's got the boots on the ground to easily take this thing. Can that still happen?
Not if a scandal erupts between Friday and Monday.
Got it.
The machine is not that big or tight enough to handle the scandal of the 33,000 deleted emails that quickly. I think that's part of the reason why we see Clinton ahead in the polls this entire time versus Trump's been slowly rising and then had some fallbacks and slowly rising, is because he's very new to the game, and he didn't want that kind of grassroots organization that the Clintons understand. He kind of sees that as part of the establishment problem, and he's trying to ride high that anti-establishment ideal. And Clinton, of course, is the picture of the establishment machine. So that's something to pay attention to is how Trump gets out the vote coming off any type of scandal, and then how Clinton does that, because you might see some Democrats who are in the same kind of condition and a scenario that a lot of Republicans are in. They don't really want to vote for Clinton. So let's be honest, for both parties, neither of these candidates is like the person that they want the most to run right now. It's just who we've gotten as our candidates. So anything on the Clinton email scandal, even if it might not prompt people to vote for Trump, it could send wary Democrats, it could set them home. They're not going to vote because they've just had enough of it.
What does WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, who runs WikiLeaks, what does he or they have to gain through these leaks and this constant drip? What's he get?
Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah.
Right? So I think he's a supporter of transparency more than anything else, and that I think he sees himself, and I'm not saying I support this or agree with this, but he certainly sees himself in some kind of messianic way of holding people to account, that you, in a democracy, and I believe he's a big supporter of kind of pure democracy, almost maybe on the fringe of anarchism, politically, philosophically speaking, that the will of the people must be followed at all times, 100%. And part of making sure that happens is through transparency and all the conditions setting against corruption in government. And so if he believes that somebody's being corrupt or not transparent enough, it's the message of democracy that is his job to get out, to make all that relevant information public so that people can have all the information, have a level playing field to really understand and know for whom we're going to vote, without anything left in the closet for us to find out later.
And does he presumably just not have anything to release on Trump because Trump hasn't been in government?
Right. We know Trump has some deleted emails and some litigation suits that he's been facing. I'm not sure if Assange would go after that type of information because of him being a private individual for that time. He might release something there. We know Assange isn't supporting Trump.
Right.
So he's just releasing this information, I think, more as a radical, kind of in the vein of the 60s radical movements across America, that he's kind of in this type of mindset, that he just wants to disrupt things, not for the sake of chaos, but in his mind for the sake of better governance, better democracy.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the Russia factor and how it may or may not play in this election and in our relationship with Russia itself, no matter who wins the White House. Also, how about millennials? Can some of Dr. Albert's students come out and change the tide come Tuesday? When the Means Report continues.